Bienvenidos a la cuarta clase de este curso de inglés avanzado completamente gratis. I upload a new video every Monday and Thursday, so make sure you subscribe to my channel to receive notifications. And don't forget, you can also join the Facebook group to download all of my presentations and resources for free. Today we're going to talk about two things. First of all, we're going to talk about uses of the past that we've already seen. And then we're going to talk about other special uses of the past. Let's begin. Okay, so first of all, we're going to look at past uses that we've already seen. Okay, so we have already seen the past tense. Of course, we saw it in class 202. We looked at plus ed, plus d, or plus ied, right? For the regular verbs. For example, we walked to the station, and there were lots of irregular verbs like spoke, went, were, was, and had. We looked at the negative form in the past for all verbs, which is didn't or did not plus a verb. For example, didn't walk, didn't drive, didn't speak. Be was the only exception, right? Be was weren't and wasn't in negative. For example, I wasn't happy. We also looked at the difference between the d and the id pronunciation, okay? Wanted, enjoyed, and watched. There are three different pronunciations of that ed, right? We also looked at back-shifting in reported speech, which we touched on in the last lesson as well, right? What do you want? I need your help. I asked John what he wanted, and he said he needed my help. We also looked at the past tense being used in the unreal conditional. The reality, for example, I don't have a dog. If I had a dog, right? So we use the past tense for the conditionals. In Spanish, you'd say si tuviera, not si tuve, but in English, you'd say si tuve, if I had a dog. If I were you, and so on. So we use the past tense for the unreal conditional. If I had the time, and so on. So we did this activity when we were studying the second conditional. We looked at if I were an animal, if I had $1 million, if my father weren't relaxed, if I didn't speak Spanish, if I could turn back time, right? And we did some exercises. I'm going to put a link in exercise 1, okay? So you can repeat the activities that we did when we looked at unreal conditionals if you want to, okay? So to open the exercises for unreal conditionals refresh, go to point number 1 in the description. But if you're happy to continue, let's continue. So I want to look at today other uses of the past. So in what other occasions are we going to be using the past tense in English? So the first one, when I'm talking about my past hypothesis for something. Okay? So here's the truth. I don't have a cat. And somebody says to me, I thought you did. I thought you did. See, that's interesting because did is in past. But in reality, when you think about it, perhaps it should be in present, right? But we're talking about past hypothesis, which is no longer true. Or if you say, I don't have a cat, and I say, I knew you didn't, okay? It's kind of the same as saying, I know you don't, right? But it's interesting. I didn't think you did. I thought you had one. So these are all 4 examples talking about my past hypothesis of your present truth, okay? So the truth is you don't have a cat. I thought you did. I knew you didn't, okay? I'm using did and didn't. It's interesting, right? As an auxiliary verb. Here's another example. He speaks German, okay? So let's say John speaks German. Yes, I knew he did. Okay? Sabía que lo hacía. I knew he did. I knew he spoke German. I thought he spoke French. I thought he didn't. Okay, so again, we're talking about our past thoughts, our past hypothesis with I thought and I knew. And we're using a past verb. We're using spoke because the verb is speak, and we're using did and didn't as auxiliary verbs, as we would with all verbs, except for be. So when you're talking about your past hypothesis, it's very common to use the verb in past, even though you're referring to something right now. So for example, I see a friend and I say, you're here. I thought you were in Paris. I thought you were in Paris. I thought previously that you were, right now, which is weird, you were in Paris. I'm referring to my past hypothesis about this present moment, but it doesn't matter that it's the present moment. I'm still going to put the verb in the past. So this is why we call it a special use of the past. Or I go to Starbucks and I see a friend and I say, I didn't know you worked here. And my friend is working there right now, right? He's working. So I should be using present tense, right? But because I'm talking about my past hypothesis, then I would use past tense. So I say, I didn't know you worked here. I didn't know you worked here. Okay. Why? Because, again, I am describing my past thoughts, my past hypothesis about your present truth. Okay, so I see you working in Starbucks, and I say, I didn't know you worked here. Okay. Of course, if I want to be simple, I can just answer, for example, you say, I don't have a cat. I can say, I know you don't, right? I know you don't. So often people will speak about their past hypothesis when it turns out that it's not correct, right? So, I didn't know you worked here, or I didn't think you did, or I thought you did, right? When it turns out that my past thinking, my past hypothesis was incorrect, I will use this, okay? So that's one special use of the past, for past hypotheses, okay? Another one is for phrases like es hora de. It's time, it's high time, it's about time, plus a subject, plus the past, okay? Which is very different to Spanish. Es hora de irnos, okay? It's high time we left, which basically means we should go now. This is a special use of the past. We use the past tense with these expressions. It's time, it's high time, it's about time, okay? A subject and past. It's about time he learned his lesson. Or it's high time we went to the store, right? So it's about time you stopped means you should stop now. It's time she gave up on that dream. She should give up on that dream, okay? So we're looking at the past tense, okay? The interesting thing about these ones is that it's basically an implied criticism of a current situation, okay? So, it's high time we left. We should go now. The implication is, I am not happy. This is not good. We need to go, okay? It's about time you stopped. The implication is, I am not happy with the activity you're doing. You have to stop. And it's time she gave up. I am criticizing her dream, okay? It's high time we left. Basically means I don't want to be here anymore, right? Okay. It's time she gave up on that dream. I think it's unrealistic. So I'm being critical. I'm being critical when I'm using this. It's time, it's high time, it's about time. So we have past hypotheses and we have this. It's time, it's high time, it's about time. These are two special uses of the past. Another one, which is quite similar to the last one, is would rather, subject and past. It's very similar to it's time. So for example, if somebody says to you, I'm going to do it, and you say, I would rather you didn't, okay? That is a special use of the past. I'm not going to do it. I would rather you did, okay? I would rather, and then the past verb. Normally we're going to use an auxiliary verb, right? Like did or didn't. He's an Arsenal fan, but I would rather he wasn't, okay? Prefería que no lo fuera. He's an Arsenal fan, but I would rather he wasn't. I would rather you spoke to me nicely, okay? I would prefer it if you spoke to me nicely. Now, the reason that these ones work with the past tense is because basically they're the same as a second conditional, because we're talking about something that's not real, all right? I'm going to do it. I would prefer if you didn't, right? I would prefer the unreal situation. He's an Arsenal fan. That's true, that's real, but I would prefer it if it were unreal and he wasn't an Arsenal fan, right? So we're talking about unreal situations. You speak to me really badly, okay? I would rather you spoke to me nicely. It's not real, but that's what I would rather, okay? So these ones are much more common with the didn't and the wasn't weren't, but they are possible with other verbs, okay? Like for example with the example of spoke. But the majority of times you're going to be replying to a person who says, hey, I'm going to do this. I would rather you didn't. I would rather you didn't. So the majority of times you use this, you're going to be using did, didn't, was, wasn't, were, weren't, okay? I'm not this. I'd rather you were. I want to do this. I would rather you didn't. Okay, so it's going to be like a response most of the time. But it is possible with other verbs, like in the example with spoke. I would rather you spoke to me nicely. So we have would rather, and we also have would prefer it if, which is basically the same thing, okay? I would prefer it if you didn't, okay? I would prefer it if you wasn't an Arsenal fan. I would prefer it if you spoke to me nicely. So this is exactly the same as an unreal conditional because it has an if clause with a verb in the past and it has the would. So it has exactly the same function as would rather. It's just that this one is more obviously an unreal conditional because of the if, okay? But yeah, these are two uses of the past when we're talking about something which you would like to be different, okay? You would like it to be different. So we have this use of the past. We have it's high time, it's about time. And we have the use of the past for talking about a past hypothesis that you have, okay? There's also a question of using the past tense sometimes in English for politeness, okay? So if you're speaking to your boss and your boss asks to see you, you can say, do you want to see me now? Or if you want to be extra polite, you could say, did you want to see me now? Did you need more sugar? I wanted to know if you were free tomorrow, okay? So we use the past tense for politeness. You can be more direct. I want to know if you are free tomorrow is quite direct. Or I wanted to know if you were free tomorrow. Okay? It's a lot more indirect and it's a lot more polite. So here you have all four together, right? So we have, number one, you have my past hypothesis about a present truth. I thought you were in Paris. Okay? That's a special use of the past in English. It's time, it's high time, it's about time. It's time you stopped. Special use of the past. I would rather, or I would prefer it if, I would rather you didn't go. And then politeness, I wanted to check if you had time later. Okay? So, again, wanted and had are past verbs. Okay, so here's an activity with 5 sentences, okay? These are 5 things that people can say. So look at the first one. I hate my stepfather. I hate my stepfather. Now imagine that you are the mother and you're talking to your son and he tells you that he hates your husband, right? How would you say something like, preferiría que no fuera así, right? Pensé que te caía bien. So I want you to do a translation of yo creí, o creía, o yo creí que te caía bien. As a translation would be, I thought you liked him, right? Or maybe, quisiera que no fuera así. I would rather you didn't hate him, right? We aren't going to come to the party. How could I respond to that? I might say something like, I would prefer it if you did. Or, it's about time you socialized. Okay? Again, we're talking about a future party and I'm using the past tense, right? I would prefer it if you did. It's about time you socialized. I want to stay at this party for longer. It's high time we left. I would rather we left now. Okay? Surprise, it's me. I thought you were out of town, or I didn't know you were here. Okay? This team are actually really bad. I thought they were good. It's high time they won a game. Okay, so almost any different thing that a person says to you, you can respond with one of these special uses of the past if it works, okay? And it will work and you will hear it. So maybe you're having a conversation with somebody and the person says, we aren't going to come to the party. And somebody else says, I'd prefer it if you did. And you're thinking, going to come is a future and now the person is saying did. And did is the past. But that's why. That's why you might see a past verb and you might think it's a bit strange. So that's the 2 things that I wanted to see today. Just a quick refresher on the different times we've seen the past before, and then today to look at some other special uses of the past. Okay? Now it's time for a song. So today's song is Paradise by Coldplay from 2011. special uses of the past, not so much, but I would like you to try and find all of the past verbs in this song. Some of them are phrasal verbs, okay? So I'm going to give you a few seconds to stop the video and find all of the verbs in past, okay? 3, 2, 1. Okay, so here you go. Those are the lyrics. When she was just a girl, she expected the world, okay? But it flew away from her reach. So she ran away in her sleep and dreamed of paradise. So basically, when she was a young girl, she had lots of dreams, but it wasn't possible. So she dreamed, and in in her sleep, she dreamed of paradise, okay? Every time she closed her eyes. When she was a girl, she expected the world, but it flew away from her reach, and the bullets catch in her teeth, okay? So again, she's thinking about paradise. Bullets in the teeth is interesting, like catching bullets in your teeth. Life goes on, gets so heavy, the wheel breaks the butterfly. So a butterfly could be representing a dream or beauty, and the wheel of life, like the process of life and the heaviness of life, right? So life continues, things get heavy, dreams die, okay? In the night, the stormy night, she closes her eyes. So she closes her eyes and she still flies in her dreams. She dreams of paradise, right? So it's a nice song. It's a catchy song. I know that you guys know it. The only reason I selected it is because it has lots of past verbs and because it has a really cute elephant in the video. Okay, so our idioms for today, we have 4. Lose touch, sit tight, pitch in, and face the music. I am unsuccessful with women. I have lost my touch. So when you lose your touch, it means you lose your ability in something, okay? So if I'm really good at making deals and making money for like 5 years, and then I have like 6 months where I just can't get anything right and everything goes wrong, then I could say I've lost my touch, okay? The same with girls. If I'm really popular with the girls and I'm dating lots of women, and then I have a spell where I just don't have any interest at all, and I can't like make a connection with anybody, then I could say I've lost my touch, okay? To sit tight means do nothing. So we can't do anything, just sit tight. So if somebody tells you to sit tight, it means stay where you are, do nothing, okay? Sit tight. Pitch in means to contribute. It could mean financially contribute, like pitch in some money, or just some effort, esfuerzo, right? Can you pitch in? Pitch in means to contribute. And to face the music means to accept your consequences. So it's time to be brave and face the music. We have to accept our consequences and face the music. Okay? That's everything for today's class. Make sure you subscribe to my channel to receive notifications of my videos every Monday and Thursday. And of course, don't forget to join the Facebook group where you can download all of my resources for free. Thanks for learning English with me, and I will see you next class.